So what got you so interested in diving? What was the preconditions and the original effort?
Well, I grew up in Virginia, on the eastern shore of Virginia. And the eastern shore is basically a little peninsula of 2 counties that hangs down from Delaware, not even connected to the mainland of Virginia. So we were surrounded by water. And we'd always go to the beach, and I remember the beach, Silver Beach, and I just loved to take a mask and put it on my face and look beneath the surface of the water and look at creatures and fish. And I used to chase horseshoe crabs around, and really loved being in the water and looking at what was undersea. And so I was probably, it probably started about when I was 10 years old, and that would have probably been in about 1958.
Uh-huh.
And so for a couple of years, I would be doing that. And I think sea hunt this started in about, I'm guessing 59 or 60 or something like that. I'm not sure, 58. And as a kid, I would watch sea hunt, and I was just so excited, to watch that show. It was so exciting because I have experience, in the water, looking at that undersea life, and then I could see Mike Nelson, with his undersea adventures, and I just loved it. And I went, wow, I can do that. And he made it look so simple, just driving up to the beach in his pickup, throwing the tanks on his back and putting his fins on and then waddling off into the surf and immediately finding adventure someplace. Right. So it looked really exciting, and it really motivated me to pursue diving. So being a poor kid, I couldn't afford it, until after I graduated from high school. And so right after I graduated from high school, I was in Chicago, and there's a little dive store called Northwest Skin Diving, I think. A strange name for a dive store in Chicago. Yeah. And so I stopped by and checked on scuba lessons, and I signed up for scuba lessons. And they said they needed to, and I had to go find a friend. So so anyway, I got my mask, snorkels, and fins, and I met the instructor at this motel pool. And he was a wildcat instructor, as we would call in those days. So he wasn't registered to NWDHA, or there wasn't such a thing as PADI at that time. And there was YMCA, but he wasn't a YMCA instructor. And he started to teach us diving with double hose regulators. And I didn't do real well with the double hose regulators. My buddy Nora did very well, and I don't think he demonstrated it very well. And we never mastered the buddy breathing. We never mastered the doff and don. Barely got through mask clearing. And the lectures happened in the motel coffee shop. And it started out, well, you guys have any questions? It's a heck of a lecture. And I'd say, yeah, how deep have you been? Or have you ever seen a shark? I wanted to know all about his adventures. Right. And he would talk about them. But he never talked about, ear clearing or the laws of scuba, but we did learn not to hold your breath. He really didn't teach very much. So toward the end of the course, I ran across some guys that were going to go diving up in Racine Quarry, Wisconsin. So I asked if I could come along, and they invited me to come along. So I immediately went back to the instructor and said, hey, when am I going to be finished? He goes, oh, I don't know, a couple, 3, 4 weeks, whatever. And I said, well, I just accepted an invitation to go diving up at Racine Quarry with these guys. He goes, well, if they ask you where you took your checkout dive, tell them you took it at Elgin Quarry. And of course, I hadn't taken any checkout dive. Right. That's how good he was.
He was an ace.
Yeah, he was a character. So anyway, I met up with the guys, and by that time I'd bought a wetsuit. I bought a tank, a Damone tank. That was a brand that was originated in Chicago and didn't go very far. And I got a depth gauge. Had to know how deep I was, of course.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's a very important piece of gear. And a regulator, which was a Healthways Scuba Star TD, which is the bottom of the line brand. So I just remember how terrible it breathed. And so anyway, off we went, jumped in the car for about, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 hour drive to Racine, Wisconsin. And we met up, and I didn't even have a weight belt, didn't even think about a weight belt. I mean, after watching Sea Hunt, I should have known about weight belts.
Right.
But I didn't remember.
Didn't connect.
Yeah, didn't connect. So anyway, we had to scrounge around for loose weight in the car. Unfortunately, they had some loose weight, and everybody, you know, kind of gave me a little bit of weight, and we managed to pull something together that we tied to my body. And so I didn't have a hood, didn't have gloves, didn't have booties, and didn't know about thermoclines.
Uh-oh.
And I found out about thermoclines pretty quick. You know, couldn't believe, you know, we'd go from really warm water to just super freezing water. Hurt your head. So, so we're all gathered up, right, standing in the shallow water, and the dive leader is giving a real quick briefing and says, all right, we're all going to go down to about 90 feet down in the trench, and by where this train is, we'll meet down there and explore that area. And we'll stop momentarily to clear ears and then proceed down there and clear ears. And I looked at Ben, who was the part-timer from the dive shop that told me about that tagged along actually, and he was going to be my buddy. And I said, what's clearing ears? He says, just blow your nose. So anyway, off they go, just like that, and they're gone. Everybody's gone. And I'm all of a sudden, you know, I'm braking as I descend because of the pain in my ears. And I'm thinking, clear my ears, blow my nose. So I'm just sniffing, trying to blow my nose, not holding my nose at all, and I'm not successful clearing my ears, and my head is just pounding. I'm falling below the thermocline. My feet is freezing. My head is dizzy, and so, but I didn't surface because I wanted to be a scuba diver.
Great.
So anyway, I just started swimming around horizontally out there, trying to figure out how to get deeper, and can't. My head hurts, my feet are cold, everything is not going well at all.
No.
I just finally I stumbled onto a cliff, which gave me a lot of comfort because, you know, I had a sense of reference. Now I could touch something, and so I quickly put my hand on that cliff to steady myself and, you know, kind of gather my wits around me. Still under the thermocline, and but I didn't go up, and because, you know, I wanted to be a scuba diver. So as I was going along that cliff, you know, I found a fish, and that was kind of cool. And just as I was studying that fish, you know, I experienced one of those things that's very rare called a tooth squeeze, which I didn't know what it was, but it felt like my tooth had exploded in my mouth. And I just couldn't believe it. It just nearly knocked me senseless, you know, and I just closed my eyes and didn't move and hung onto that cliff, you know, hoping for that pain to subside. And the cold air from the regulator was just going over that tooth, and it just hurt with every breath. And so, boy, at that particular moment, you know, I doubted whether I wanted to be a scuba diver or not, with, you know, cold feet and a dizzy head and a, you know, painful mouth.
Hurting,
yeah, and my ears are hurting like hell, and I start swimming along, wondering whether I'm going to go up or not, and I stumble back to the entry point as my head pops up, and I'm looking and I go, there's grassy area, I'm going up on the shore. I pull myself up, Ben is sitting there, I pull up next to him, you know, and I'm just, you know, going, what are you doing here? And he had blown out his purge valve out of his nose of his mask, and so his mask totally flooded, and he had to abort the dive. And he says, how did your dive go? And I don't know what I said to him. I kind of shrugged a little bit, made some excuses, and so anyway, pretty soon the guys came back, you know, talking excitedly about the train that they were diving around at 90 feet, and I'm just sitting there, just kind of very discouraged, and I was very quiet, sitting in the back seat, thinking about my experience, and driving back to Chicago.
It wasn't like Mike Nelson, was it?
It wasn't the same, you know. I don't know. All those things, you know, that happened to me, I'm going, how could all these things happen to me? And I just never knew much about that, you know, watching TV. So anyway, I made another attempt at it. Ben and I went out on another quarry in Chicago. You know, by this time I'd acquired a set of twin tanks and a double hose. And I remember, you know, trying to get into the water. You know, we knocked the tanks over, bent the valve, but the tank was open. Managed to, you know, get down into chest-high water, you know, lost the fin, you know, and we mucked it up so bad we couldn't find the fin. I tried to go down swimming with one fin and twin tanks and couldn't get anywhere. Gave up, came back, couldn't see anything anyway, and that was that time. You know, another
real encouraging one.
Yeah, and so the third try, you know, I went to a big lake in South Chicago, and I was thinking, all right, I'm going to try this one more time. And so it was clear water, and I got down. I now learned, I knew about the ears. Guess what? I had hood, boots, and gloves this time.
Yay.
So I didn't have that problem. And actually got down, got my ears cleared, and I'm swimming around looking at all the stuff to see, because it was very clear water in this lake. And I enjoyed that dive. So that's what a dive felt like, what a successful dive felt like, and I knew I was on my way. So that was the dive where I was going to either do it or give it up. So fortunately, I succeeded.